Brooklyn Independent Television.
The Brooklyn Navy Yard is one of the most dynamic institutions in all of Brooklyn. And these days, that's saying a lot. Many people know it for housing Steiner Studios, where film and TV production is booming. But that's just the beginning. The Navy Yard is so full of manufacturers, entrepreneurs, artists, and designers that you could say the only thing they're not building there is ships. Then there's the remarkable Building 92, home to exhibits, public tours, education, and workforce development. Joining me are Daniela Romano, Vice President of Building 92 Exhibits and Programs, and Crystal Rivera, Director of Workforce Development. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks so much for having us here, Randy.
So Daniela, let's start with you.
Okay.
I know you've been at the Navy Yard for some time, and I know you've seen the project Building 92 from beginning to end. So tell us about Building 92 and what its history was and what its origins were.
Building 92 was an initiative that we established in about 2007. In the surrounding neighborhood, so many people were curious about what was happening inside the yard, what is happening here today, and what has happened here historically. And so we really wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of lift the veil on both the extraordinary history of the site, but also provide access to the industrial park today and really enlighten people on the sheer amount of work, ingenuity, innovation, and design talent that is slogging away in areas like metal fabrication, woodworking, film production, like you said. So we established an exhibit titled Brooklyn Navy Yard Past, Present, and Future, which tells the whole history of the site, focusing on today's yard, but building on this heritage of craft and industry that dates us back to the earliest days of the United States. And then we work really closely with Brooklyn Historical Society as well to design and deliver educational programs to bring students into the yard so that they're essentially growing up with kind of the assumption of the industrial park and this rich history in their backyard.
So what are some of the public programs that you're currently offering?
We offer very popular bus and bicycle tours in partnership with a local business, Turnstile Tours, and the founder, Cindy Vanden Bosch. We also have just launched factory tours, which is a great way to get into a behind-the-scenes experience of the Navy Yard, put on a hard hat, get out onto a factory floor, learn about the design process and product development that really is.
So these are existing businesses. What types of businesses?
Our first tour was with Ice Stone, which is a recycled glass countertop manufacturer. So visitors come into Building 92, they get to see the product in situ, and then get on a bus, get a little bit of an architectural and historical tour of the yard on their way out to the factory, and then we walk into the factory, and from there it's a very detail-oriented but engaging experience to learn about product design, product development, and the experience of the workforce on the factory floor. Our next tour will be Making Wood Work, which is about a collaborative of woodworkers all co-located in one building, and again the same kind of process where you can see some locally produced carpentry work inside Building 92, and then a little bit of a walking tour over to the site, and you learn about different production processes for a variety of these kind of smaller scale woodworkers.
So we hear about the Brooklyn Navy Yard being really an industrial success story. And you know, there's a lot of jobs being created there. And Crystal, this is where you come in. I mean, the Navy Yard sits at the nexus of several different communities, including Fort Greene. There are a number of housing developments, New York City NYCHA housing developments outside the yard. There's a lot of folks looking for work. Tell us about the employment programs that the Navy Yard offers.
So the Employment Center is actually located in Building 92, along with the programs and exhibits. Previously, you know, for about 10 years, it was located a mile in the yard. In August of 2011, the Employment Center gained some private funding, and we were able to kind of ramp up and beef up what we were doing with a really strong emphasis on local hiring. So as you mentioned, Randy, we have a lot of local New York City Housing Authority residents living right around the area of the Navy Yard. So we wanted to really move it to the perimeter, be in Building 92, have a local access, really being able to get in from the actual sidewalk. It's our first public entrance into the Navy Yard, and be able to link people to employment with our businesses. So, you know, we, as Daniela mentioned, we celebrate all of the tenants in Building 92, past, present, future. But in our employment center, we work with them to help them find really good candidates in our local community. So we work with the community organizations that service residents in the area, including our lead training partners, which are Opportunities for Better Tomorrow, as well as Brooklyn Workforce Innovations. So we've kind of come a long way. We also focus on veterans. Those are, a big target for us, being that it's a natural home for veterans to come and work in the Navy Yard, given its history. So, we're really excited.
And you offer some job training programs as well.
We do. So we, part of the kind of revamp of the Employment Center was to include some training opportunities for local community members. So as I mentioned, Brooklyn Workforce Innovations, they're actually co-located in the Employment Center with us, and they run a Made in New York production assistant training program, which actually helps people get into entry-level positions in production in movies and television. We've also recently launched our first Navy Yard training program with GMD Shipyard Repair. So basically they repair ships. We were able to pipeline local job seekers into entry-level positions there as general laborers and fire guard watches, which might sound like jargon, but they're actually great jobs, and they offer a real career ladder for people. So we're excited to kind of kick off with a lot more training programs and offer some great opportunities to local job seekers.
So there are still shipyards in the Navy Yard.
Exactly, right?
And it's ship repair, not shipbuilding.
Right, ship repair, correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about Building 92 itself. I mean, what was the history of that building, and what was the idea behind sort of turning it into this new dynamic sort of institution?
Building 92 itself, the history of the building, it was designed by architect Thomas Eustick Walter, who was the fourth architect of the Capitol, way back in 1857. And in fact, Building 92 was under construction when Walter received his notification that his Capitol dome design had been accepted by the federal government. So it's a nationally significant site. And we sought immediately to kind of work with the local workforce, local businesses, to engage in the construction process. So we've worked with about 20 yard tenants on the whole project, including Capsus Modular Construction, built the modern extension, which houses a great cafe or a very popular event space, the employment center, and a wonderful tenant on the second floor, Construction Kids, which is a woman-owned business that teaches kids how to work with hand tools.
So there is event space available. Mm-hmm. Is that event space available to community groups and other nonprofits?
It certainly is, and we urge everybody to reach out to us to learn about our event space rental opportunities. We've got a forecourt right off of Flushing. Building 92 is located on Flushing at Carlton Avenue. So a great event space outdoor that can accommodate about 500 people, and then a cafe space up on the fourth floor, and a great space on the first floor, which can accommodate about 75 people. I think we can accommodate about 700 people altogether, also using the exhibits for circulation space and event space.
So just briefly, because I am fortunate enough to sort of work with you guys in a collaborative way in my other life, and I know that there's big plans for actually expanding the yard and creating additional employment opportunities, particularly along Admiral's Row. So Crystal, you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, Admiral's Row, we will be bringing a supermarket onto the perimeter of the yard up there. And from a workforce perspective, we're really looking to engage the local job seekers to be able to bring them in and be part of this new opportunity, as well as, just in general, bringing really good produce and a good supermarket to the area is kind of necessary. It's hard to find good local produce
It's
there.
something in particular that the Williamsburg community has been looking for many years.
Yes, so it's a great, I think it's great in terms of just bringing something there for the community, as well as, retail space in the Navy Yard is kind of unheard of. So this is going to be an exciting endeavor. But we're also looking to really create some strategic plans in workforce to make sure that we're getting people good jobs right in the community.
And how many jobs are we anticipating coming online?
So, the Navy Yard's growing in crazy amounts. So I think over the next couple of years, over the next 5 years, we're looking at 2,000 jobs.
New
overall,
jobs. Yeah.
Yes. But not just in the supermarket, but also with the other development that's happening inside of the yard.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's good for Brooklyn. And I want to thank you both for the work that you're doing and for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, absolutely.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at brickartsmedia.org/BIT.